Welcome back, and I'm delighted to have with me here in the studio Peter Svidler, who made a draw in the end against Sam Shankland. And in fact, this is the first time I've seen Peter whilst I've been here.
Yeah, it's this needed to be.
It needed to happen because Peter, in fact, wrote the foreword to my book.
My opening salvo when I entered this sacred place was, "Where's my book?" Yeah, and I stand, I firm on that point. Like,
I have a copy for him.
Give me my
book.
Yeah,
a pristine copy of the book.
That's what I want to hear.
So that will be resolved after. You see, I'm just a work slave here. I'm kept in the studio, whipped hour after hour. What can I do?
I've heard stories about the whipping, yes.
So, Peter, tell us something about the tournament first, and then we'll come on to your game today. How are you feeling?
I'm still in. And I think that's sort of the extent of it for me. I don't know why. Like, it's probably incorrect to say I don't know why I'm still in, but I'm still in because I've won 3 matches. But yeah, it's always a bit of a surprise. I have a decent record in World Cups in general, but every time you continue staying in, you feel like, good. Not entirely what I expected, but good. At least this is how it works for me. But yeah, I mean, it's good to still be in the running, and it feels like I'm also somewhat playing myself into some kind of semblance of form.
Yeah.
Because first round was twitchy, and second round was also, I mean, there were definitely things I would like to have done differently, but yesterday I think I played well, and today
you had a very nice combination, which I saw with Bishop takes two. I mean, it happened very, very suddenly because I thought you blundered for a moment, so, and you suddenly went boom, sacrificing the bishop in the end game, and I thought,
if you don't
stroke of genius.
Yeah, if you don't see that when you play King H5, you feel kind of silly. So I mean, I saw that was winning when I was. That was sort of the trap I was setting when I was playing King H5. Yeah, but anyway, as for today, I felt like I was making some sense, but I wanted to ask you honestly because these structures in particular.
Okay, maybe they would be so kind as to give us the board.
Yeah.
This would be very nice.
I don't think I'm up to going through the entire game.
Just any moments that you thought were interesting.
Yeah, somewhere here, Black definitely has like more ambitious ways of playing than what Sam chose. Like, for instance, I was very curious about the idea of provoking me to play b3, which I think knight b6 does very effectively provoke me to play b3. I can't allow knight c4. And then you can go a5, a4. And I thought rook fc8 was actually played with that idea, because leaving the rook on the a file and then opening up the a file post haste feels interesting. But obviously, you might on some occasions get mated on the king side when you're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, queen h7 checkmate could be a problem. Also, queen g7 is another possibility as well. Knight,
absolutely. Yeah, but obviously, some teleportation is required here, because these pieces aren't really getting there so easily. So I was kind of busily calculating some kind of positions like this, which are, I think, incredibly unclear. But what Sam chose instead, he played queen b6 and then takes on b4. I'm guessing he played it sort of with the idea of doing what he did, and I was not at all unhappy about that, because after queen e2...
Can we get... I think we right-click on those arrows too. We've got beautiful arrows or something. I don't know what we do.
And they aren't going away?
They're not going away.
That's unfortunate.
Do we not right-click on one? No, we don't. No.
Well done. I think that's very, very true to form, because me and arrows are partners for life.
This is very exciting.
If they're never disappearing, like I assume they.
There's something at the top. I think that we can one of those. Raise arrows. That's
success.
That's a good sign.
Obviously, queen e2, a5 is kind of required, because I'm already intending to go e5, queen e4, and if I play e5 here, I run into bishop a6, which is important. Right. But the whole point is, like, I was not at all unhappy about this position after, let's say, we got here, and after rook c8, well, I mean, black has now sort of having given up the c file. You have a choice of playing bishop a6, which is what he did, or you can play rook c8. But the issue with rook c8 is that, despite so many pieces coming off the board, this is still
checkmate.
Yeah,
or close.
Yeah, and you would like to play a5 here, but unfortunately, it runs into knight takes a5. Yes. So you can't ever really do that comfortably. So Sam ended up going for this endgame, and honestly, I think it's probably equal-ish, but not, I think, the way he played it. Mm-hmm. I think, first of all, it's kind of lucky that, black doesn't lose on the spot, because after rook c7, you can be excused in thinking that white just wins a piece here, but kind of luckily for black,
there's some
this does work out,
yes.
Yeah, and then d5 and knight c5,
knight c5,
and
yes.
Yeah, the rook gets chased, and but the point is, after rook c8 check, whatever you do is kind of annoying. You kind of have to play king h7, and now I'm just aiming to bring my king into the center, and I'm kind of in full control over the c file forever, and the pawns on a5 and b4 are going to be weaknesses. But the issue here is that after king f1, rook a7, king e2, I'm pretty sure d5, e5, knight e4 equalizes. I couldn't find any way to actually get an advantage in this position. I was kind of looking at it for a very long time, and I just couldn't figure out why I'm better. Because unfortunately, I cannot take if my knight cannot go to e2. So I have to play something like bishop e1, I thought, to create a threat of taking and playing knight g2. And now I think what I really disliked was this, with the intention of going knight b6, knight c4. And it felt to me that I'm just not going to be able to make much progress. But instead of this, Sam just played very, very slowly. He went for this kind of a setup, where also here I think knight g7, knight b8 can be played even immediately, but he played king g8, b3, knight g7, and we got to this. I think this is sort of a turning point. Like we get here, he played knight c7. All of these moves are not forced, but I've made as much progress as I can make without allowing some trades or allowing d6, d5 as in the game. And I was going to ask you, because I feel like I'm not very confident in evaluations of these endgames. For instance, what Sam told me after the game was that he was mostly worried about e5 here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah, but how good is this really?
Well,
because
Peter,
because now there will be some counterplay on the a file. I will have to kind of pay attention to, and I mean, it's definitely better than what I did, because what I did was sort of connected with a miscalculation. But I was going to ask you as a French player with a pedigree, as opposed to me, who doesn't really understand that opening at all.
Come on.
No, seriously, French is my worst opening by far.
I just felt that this is. I thought it was unpleasant for black. I recalled a game which I won in the BBC Master Game. It was actually played in 1980. It was shown in 1981 broadcast. And I beat Tony Miles in some structure this.
Yeah, I feel like
and F4 and F5, and you're suddenly pressing. But it is different, I agree, because there is some potential pressure against B3, but not enough, I suspect.
I will have to pay some attention to it, like a4, f4, rook a7, for instance.
Yeah.
But the issue is I can always probably find a way to restructure my pieces so that the knight can come to c2 and smoke out the rook on a3.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely should have been played, because I sort of overestimated what I got in the game. I played the somewhat stupid move f4, which I thought also made some sense, because the knight comes to g3 and we have
it was a strange decision, but the funny thing was that when you did it, I thought that was really hideous. And then the more I started to think about it, I thought you were giving him some problems.
I think it's actually tempo by tempo that it fails. in a lot of spots here, if I have just one more tempo somewhere, like 95, 93, bishop d6, and I think f5 is a mistake, but f5 is once again connected to a slight miscalculation. But let's say, if in this position I can play bishop d2, and it's once again my move after bishop d2 somehow, and I just play 95 check. It might be extremely annoying for black.
Because you've got that.
Yeah, but unfortunately, knight f6 check is a huge problem here, which I missed.
Dropping a pawn.
Yeah, which forced me to play 95 in this position, which leads to a forced draw. But I no longer really have a choice. So, I mean, clearly, if talking about the one important moment in the game, it's clearly me, misunderstanding things and not playing e5 here.
Much too modest.
But I feel like I probably should not have gotten this position as well. As I mentioned, I think Sam played the whole sequence starting from c8 check, king h7. He could have played it in a more concrete fashion, trying not to allow me to get the king to g3 at all. But yeah, here I mean, complaining about having like 5 minutes for 5 moves here is a bit stupid, but with benefit of more time, I probably would have assessed this position slightly better than I have during the game. But I mean, it's fine. It's a workout. I played a full game of chess today without blundering a single piece.
So. Well, you did. We certainly didn't blunder any pieces. I just thought it was a little bit strange because, I mean, the nice thing about e5 is. This guy
is not very active.
He's, so you've got that sort of permanent advantage on the king side, and that one isn't doing too well. And as you say, it's probably a question of whether he can create some sufficient activity on the other side, and maybe he can't. I mean, that's.
But also my play is somewhat slow because even let's say if I get a 4 or 5 in, I'm still not really threatening very much.
Sometimes you go f4 and g5.
Yeah, I know, but then with the rook on the back rank, he can mostly play rook h8 in response to that. But yeah, I mean, it's clearly better than what I did, so I'm not trying to, argue for my decision. My decision was flat out incorrect, but the more I look at this, the less I understand what worried me about this position, to be entirely honest. But I mean, such is life.
Okay, brilliant. Peter, thank you very much for joining us, and good luck for tomorrow's game. Tomorrow. And before you go, you've got to give us your tip for the Cricket World Cup this year. Where
I'm slightly out of the loop. This year is the T20.
T20.
Yeah, I mean,
that's right.
England should still be pretty decently placed, right?
That's why you're invited up here, Peter. Such a good man. Thank you for that words of encouragement. And
have you watched a single of those hundreds?
No, I haven't.
I mean, we were old fogies here, right?
I was so happy earlier because to watch some live sport. So I have watched some cricket this year. So
let's see.
So I mean, with the COVID, such a disaster. So
apparently, it's very watchable. I mean, it's a kind of an unfortunate. It's one of those. There's recently been a long story. I will not, recap here. Which sort of the moral of the story is, unfortunately, it slaps. The punchline is so. The 100 is, perhaps one of those things where you kind of think it probably shouldn't be good, but it might actually be good, which will be. For old people like us, will be somewhat disappointing.
Of course. But that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, great, Peter. Thanks a lot. We will take a very short break, and then I will be rejoined by Almira for what's left of today, which is not a lot, in fact.
Probably not a lot,
I'm not quite sure what we've got left, but
good luck with that,
join us soon.